This is the Global GoalsCast, the podcast that asks, can we change the world? I'm Edie Lush, and I'm really pleased now to be joined by Erna Solberg. She's the Prime Minister of Norway. Thank you very much for coming into the Global GoalsCast corner.
Thank you for inviting me.
So you've been the Prime Minister since October 2013, head of the Conservative Party since 2004, second female Prime Minister of Norway. And this year you've written a WEF article with Christine Lagarde, the head of the IMF, about why 2018 must be the year for women to thrive. How will we thrive?
First of all, out of the Me Too campaign, I hope there's a positive focus on labour and work conditions for women, obstacles that are there. I think we all have to re-examine some of the pictures in our head and the type of views that we have on between both women and men. If you look at universities around the world, if you look at academic performance, women are now doing better than men in most of the developed countries. They are attending more, taking more education. And of course, we should tap into all of that talent. Businesses and governments that don't tap into that talent is losing out on brains and ways of thinking that could really achieve something for the future.
You've just met with President Trump. How did he treat you?
He treated me very nicely, politely, and it was an interesting discussion. Between Norway and the US, it's usually about security policies. We are neighbors to Russia in the north. We have the longest sea line. We're quite a long country, scarcely populated. The control of the North Atlantic at sea is extremely important for the connection in NATO between the American partners in NATO and the security policies are very important. But I also hope that we'll see a US that understands also that security policy is about preventing conflict, also about following up on the Sustainable Development Goals in the future, environmental change that has to stop. All of these issues is important.
After he met with you, he indicated, in fact, that the US could re-enter the Paris Accord. What kind of powers of persuasion were you using with him?
Well, he said that he felt that the Paris Accord was a bad deal for the United States, but he wasn't against doing something at climate change. So I'm not sure if I have this very good powers of persuasion, but I think I made an argument for also there is a lot of technology development now because some of us, like Norway, is doing strict policies on CO2 emissions, meaning that there is business opportunities. Over 40% of all new car sales in Norway is either a hybrid or an electrical car. And Teslas are among those who are selling quite a lot of cars to Norway now. So there are business opportunities in this. And the world's most innovative country is still the United States. They are making the most new types of technology. And if you put that to work to the benefit of climate, it will really also create jobs, also in the US.
How does it feel to be the nation which Trump would like to see the migration coming from, as he mentioned afterwards?
Well, that's of course good for Norwegians to hear that we are liked. We peaked in immigration to the United States in 1886. So there are as many Norwegian Americans as there are Norwegians in Norway. So I think we have done our deal to the people of the US. Now we see numbers that there are in fact a little bit more Americans coming to live in Norway than there are Norwegians going to the US. So maybe we are getting some back.
Norway is the world's happiest country. The US is further down the list. It's the place with the most political freedom and the most press freedom. How do you encourage that in countries that are far more diverse in terms of the way people look, the religions they practice? What lessons can the rest of the world learn from Norway?
Well, first of all, I'm a conservative. That means that I understand that history and where we come from and how our society is built do determine in a way how our society today are. That means that it's not so easy to copy a Scandinavian model or a Norwegian model and say we can do that. But we know something. We know that a good educational system is important. We know that what we have is, I think, is unique in Norway is a large trust in the institution. It's a trust in politicians, it's a trust in governmental institutions, it's a trust in their legal system, and which I think is important to encourage, which means that you have to have political parties that are open for change, open to reach out to people, and also not just election machines, but in fact have real political debates about where do you go from here, which I hope we have in our society. And then Norway is becoming more diverse. And one of our challenges is to make sure that those aspects of our society is kept when we have more migrants who have come, more refugees who have come in the last years. And when they bring their families, they should also get into the Norwegian society in a better way. And that's one of the biggest things we are working on now with the new government in Norway. We have said that we need an integrational focus that is much larger because the last 5-6 years there's 100,000 people coming to Norway because of the wave of refugees, and we need to make sure that they also feel that Norway is the Norwegian values and ideas is values and ideas for them.
And how do you do that? You mentioned that education is important. Obviously, language assimilation is important, but it takes time as well. I mean, it takes time to make people feel at home.
It takes time. And 15 years ago, I was Minister of Immigration and Integration Policies. At that time, we said, what is the target? The target is that children of immigrants should have the same possibilities as the children of people born in Norway. And I think we are quite successful. The rate of participation of and follow through on secondary schools now are equal. There was the first year last year; it was equal between the two groups. So it seems like the possibilities for the second generation are good. But the first generation always lags behind because we don't have very many unskilled jobs. It's difficult to get into the labor market. So that's what we have to work on, getting you the skills that you need in the Norwegian labor market, which has a narrow wage system, which means that quite a lot of jobs doesn't exist in our society because in service sector people will not pay for it because it's too expensive. So introductory jobs in other countries is not so many of in the Scandinavian ones, meaning that we are investing more in people's education and skills training than maybe other countries who get immigrants do.
I want to bring it back to women. We've got 7 co-chairs of the World Economic Forum this year, of which you're one of them. Of the communities that the WEF controls, the YGLs, the Young Global Leaders, the Global Shapers, we see 50% female. However, the delegations, the official delegations, we still only see 20%. What can the WEF do for next year to increase that towards parity?
Maybe they should ask for the companies that are sending people here to try to take not just the heads of the organization, but bring a little bit of their coming up generation, the one on the second level, to see how this functions, to participate. Because what we see is that we also in Norway this is where we are not equal. This is where Norway is like the rest. On the level of CEOs in larger companies, men are absolutely dominant. There are absolutely too few women. But we see on the second level in these organizations, there are more women. They need to have networks. They need to get to know other people. This is a networking arena. So maybe they should ask for those who are coming to bring a little bit more than the owner or the investor and the CEO. Maybe they should bring a couple of others with them to just experience this.
Tried that, though, didn't they, with the policy that if you could bring an extra woman, you could bring her along for free. Didn't work so well, though.
No, you have to work over time to do these changes. And I see that if we are going to get more women CEOs, they need to have diversified experience. They need to have their type of different challenges. They need to be on board of other countries to understand other parts of the society before they will end up in their first position. And we have to try to be better at doing that. And then at the last point, it will always be the owners who decide who is the CEO, the investors who decide. But it cannot be the politicians who do that. But you can have policies that make sure that the talent has possibilities to try.
Tell me finally about the efforts that you're making to increase gender parity in Norway.
Well, our efforts have been, of course, I think the most important, and this is for all the Scandinavian countries, is to make sure that you can have a family and career balance. That means that we have a long parental leave. Men have a proportion of that they have to take, or the family will lose it. We have kindergartens or daycare for children. You have a right for it when your child is 1 year up on preschool level. You have the right to that. And for those families with low income, there will be a lower pay or a free place to do that. I think this is important for work participation and the balance in families. I want it all. I want to have a family and a career, and I think I'm representing Norwegian women when I say that. And I think that's the first starter. If you really want to have an equal society. The second thing is to try to find more objective criteria on when you pick people for jobs. And we know that we are biased. All of us are biased. And that means that you have to examine yourself in the way you are hiring and who you are asking for positions. In political life in Norway, we are nearly equal. My government has 50-50. But we still lag behind in it's becoming better in academia, but we are lacking behind in the business societies. And this is, it's difficult to control it or to make quota systems. We have that on the boards of the larger companies, but that has not led to the revolution in women CEOs yet, but maybe in the future.
Thank you very much for joining me here on the Global GoalsCast.
Thank you.